This is macOS Ken.
iPhone owned the US last year. There may or may not be a problem with the TSMC plant, and the OS beta parade presses on. It's Wednesday, the 16th of February, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring at simplysafe.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. This month, BetterHelp wants to remind you to take care of your most important relationship, the one you have with yourself. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anybody on camera if you don't want to. My last therapist and I would talk on the phone occasionally. Mostly we used text. That was great since I didn't have to commit to a set amount of time at a set time of the week. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. As I said before, this show is sponsored by BetterHelp, and macOS Ken listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. That's BETTERHELP, betterhelp.com/macOSKen. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. And thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's show. While growth of services and growth of the Mac, driven by work-from-home trends and Apple Silicon, showed that Apple is more than just an iPhone company, iPhone is currently the company's bread and butter, and it won the U.S. last year. Apple Insider highlights new numbers from Counterpoint Research. The numbers sort of went as one might expect. The first quarter of 2021, the first full quarter of sales for the iPhone 12 line, gave the company a strong start. iPhone sales dipped a bit in Q2, took another dip in Q3, then hit with a kick-out-the-jams comeback in Q4. Through nearly all of it, it owned half the market. According to Counterpoint, iPhone's share of the U.S. smartphone space was 55% in the first quarter of 2021, 53% in Q2, a slip to 47% in Q3 before an end that was higher than the year's beginning. iPhone wrapped Q4 with a 56% share of the U.S. smartphone space. Now, impressive though that performance is, it sort of pales compared to the same quarter a year earlier. iPhone's share in the fourth quarter of 2020 was 65%, according to Counterpoint's estimate. There are so many moving parts, though. The fourth quarter of 2020 saw the later-than-usual launch of iPhone 12, the staggered release of devices in the iPhone 12 line, the introduction of the first 5G-enabled iPhones, and the throes of the then-less-than-a-year-old pandemic. Meanwhile, the fourth quarter of 2021 had supply chain issues. It would be silly to fixate on that fourth quarter difference for a few reasons, the biggest being we can't check Counterpoint's numbers since Apple doesn't report unit sales at this point. If we're going to take their word that there was a fourth quarter drop from one year to the next, might as well fixate on their other assertion. iPhone owned half the U.S. smartphone market for almost all of 2021. Samsung was a distant second in every quarter, by the way, if that kind of thing concerns you. Hope for the supply chain seems to be hitting snags in Arizona. iMore cites a Nikkei report that says TSMC is having trouble getting its semiconductor plant off the ground in the Grand Canyon state. Crazy, right? iMore, based in the UK, cites Nikkei, based in Japan, to talk about a plant plan for the US, which I then rewrite and podcast from the moon. One day, maybe. A boy can dream. Anyway, the problem in Arizona seems to be COVID-19 and the workforce, which could have been a great name for a band if not for, well, COVID-19. Complicated processes for obtaining the different types of licenses needed for construction have also been a hindrance, according to the report. The piece says the hope had been to have the plant ready to receive chip production hardware in September of 2022. That's looking more like spring of 2023 now. All of that said, sometimes it feels like Nikkei puts negative news under a magnifying glass. Not so much to get a closer look, but to make it look bigger than it actually is. The same iMore piece cites the same Nikkei piece saying TSMC reportedly built a buffer into its time frames and could still be able to begin production on schedule despite recent delays. Man, Nikkei is like the Digitimes of respectable sites. I will remind you, when it comes to the supply chain, eventually, it's gonna be great. Apple's parade of software betas started the next part of their march on Tuesday. Mac Rumors ran a few pieces announcing the seeding of the third betas of iOS and iPadOS 15.4, macOS Monterey 12.3, watchOS 8.5, and tvOS 15.4 to developers. They may be out to the public beta program by the time you hear this. I don't know. I'm not there yet. Either way, there is some newness about which to tell you. On the safety side, a piece from 9 to 5 Mac says the latest iOS beta is now prompting people to designate emergency contacts in their iPhones if they don't have any designated already. According to the report, right after installing the latest iOS 15.4 update on an iPhone, the Settings app shows an alert asking the user to review the settings of the emergency SOS feature, which is used to call emergency contacts when you press and hold any volume button with the side button together. Added with yesterday's beta, 9 to 5 Mac says it seems that it only appears for users who don't have emergency contacts set up on their iPhone. Tapping the prompt takes the user to the emergency SOS settings. Now, if you listen to podcasts, and I suspect at least some of you do, there's apparently a change on the way for you in the iOS beta. A report from iDownload blog says the Apple Podcasts app is getting a couple of new features, browsing by season, and the ability to filter episodes. Sounds convenient, though, speaking as a daily podcaster, I say listen to everything all the time at normal speed the way God intended. But you do you. It's not just the computer in your pocket getting tweaked, so is the one your dad might actually recognize as a computer. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac says Tuesday's macOS Monterey beta gives universal control options a new home. They used to be buried in the advanced option in the displays pane of the System Preferences app, according to the report. Now, with this week's beta, universal control gets a dedicated toggle in the main interface of the displays portion of System Preferences. So, yeah. It's kind of funny, actually. As 9 to 5 Mac points out, the whole premise of universal control is it just works. Sometimes, though, one needs even finer control of control. So there you go. Happy hunting. More news in a moment, but first a word from SimpliSafe, the right way to protect your home. Have you ever wanted to know what's happening at home when you're not there? Check out the wireless outdoor camera from SimpliSafe. It lets you see what's happening outside right from your phone and alerts you when anyone approaches, so you always know who's there. Now, inside, SimpliSafe has everything you need to keep your home safe. From entry and motion sensors to indoor and, yes, outdoor cameras. If that sounds like too much, that's fine. No two homes are exactly the same. Makes sense that different homes would have different protection needs. That's why SimpliSafe lets you put together the system that's right for you. As for installation, you can take care of that. Installing my sensors, keypad, and base station took me well under an hour. Couldn't have been simpler. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/macOSken. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. SIMPLI. Go to simplysafe.com/macOSken. Apple TV Plus has ordered a documentary about the New England Patriots. Personally, I think this is great because if there's one thing that is not celebrated enough, it's professional sports. And it's good to focus on a ragtag group of misfits like the 6-time Super Bowl winning fellows from Foxborough. Called The Dynasty, Apple's press release on the show says the 10-part docuseries The 10-part docuseries is based on the critically acclaimed New York Times best-selling book by author Jeff Benedict. With unprecedented access to the New England Patriots, Benedict spent 2 years inside the organization and chronicled the rise and historic 20-year run of the Patriots during the Brady, Belichick, Kraft era. The series will be produced by Imagine Documentaries in association with NFL Films. No word in the release on when the series will hit the stream. How do you create an anticipated show for Apple TV Plus? If you're the guy behind Severance, you start with a job you absolutely hate. Gearing up for this week's premiere, iMore highlights an interview between the show's creator, Dan Erickson, and Variety. Where'd you get the idea for a show about a process that literally severs the work part of your brain from the rest of your life? Says Erickson, I worked a string of office jobs when I first got to LA, and one in particular was in this weird little windowless office. And I would be doing these sort of weird, seemingly meaningless, repetitive tasks all day long, and it was just mind-numbing. And I caught myself one day walking in thinking, man, I wish I could just totally not experience the next 8 hours. I wish I could disassociate and just have it be 5 and suddenly I'm going home. And it occurred to me, he continues, that that's kind of a messed up thing to catch yourself wishing for, considering we have limited, precious time on this earth. And here I was wishing I could give some of it back. It really was born of my own corporate misery. All right, I think I'm looking forward to that show. Directed by Ben Stiller, the cast is just insane. Adam Scott leads with Patricia Arquette, John Turturro, Christopher Walken, and many more. Severance starts its run on Apple TV Plus this Friday, the 18th of February. And finally today, pour one out for the 4th-gen iPad, and if you're still using one, treat it with kid gloves. MacRumor says that model has been deemed obsolete by Apple. Introduced in 2012, the 4th-generation iPad was the first to feature a Lightning connector. I say treat it with kid gloves because, well, if a product is on Apple's vintage list, you can still get it repaired, provided there are parts available. Once a product is obsolete, most you can do is shake your head, remember the good times, and start eyeing hardware made this decade. If you're toting an iPhone 6 Plus, by the way, your communicator lives to fight another day. A separate piece from MacRumor says that device has gone vintage as far as Apple is concerned. First released in 2014, discontinued in 2016, back from the dead in 2017 before its serious swan song in 2018. It's that second round that makes it vintage, a designation Apple can only apply when a product has been off the market for more than 5 years, but less than 7. macOSken, brought to you by me and sponsored by BetterHelp. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSken. This show is also sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring at simplysafe.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.